TeamViewer got hacked. Their latest statement says, don't worry, the attack was contained to our internal corporate IT environment.
Oh, good. Oh, good. That's
because
all.
developers never leave secure anything lying around, hard-coded
Never.
past, nothing like that.
Ever.
Yeah, I'm sure there's no way to pivot from the TeamViewer corporate environment into the customer environments in any way.
None of these programs are inherently bad in and of themselves. And I feel like we get into the trap of saying that it's inherently bad. Whereas a better approach is to say, do we at least know where these software like programs are in our environment? And this becomes my point where it's like, hey, check out AC Hunter because it's designed to find this stuff.
The Supreme Court vacated this decision, which basically tossed it out. These states were saying that the platforms should be restricted from removing posts. So the platforms pushed back on the state of Florida and the state of Texas, saying that their First Amendment rights were being denied because by forcing them to publish all of the contents, they were being forced to publish speech that they didn't want to necessarily disseminate. They tossed it back to the states, saying you didn't actually look at the First Amendment issue.
This doesn't mean it's decided. This just means it was remediated to the lower courts with additional
They
guidance.
said this isn't good enough to be worth reviewing. Check your work and send it back again. SSH and exploit is a scary thing to hear, but this one doesn't seem to be as scary. We're not seeing a whole lot of traction with this. It's RCE, but it requires like a continuous connection for 6 to 8 hours. Obviously, you know, there's some vulnerable systems on the internet, but I don't think anyone's like core firewalls are going to be vulnerable to this.
CISA, most critical open source projects not using memory safe code. I know that some people put a lot of effort into this. You wasted a tremendous amount of time. Because what's going to happen now is you're going to have a bunch of executives that are going to go and they're going to go to their IT staff and they're going to say, we need to remove C because the CISA thing said that they're using unsafe memory. Where is this? How do I get rid of it? Sir, you're using Windows. Windows is written in C, sir.
Memory corruption can lead to huge botnets and worms and stuff. But most big vulnerabilities we see, most big breaches are not the result of memory corruption.
CISA should literally be spending its time teaching people to patch their stuff. And this includes CISA. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters whenever you're looking at security with a coding language is who's writing that code. Really what I would recommend is we focus on the compilers. Where are the compilers for the code that people are using, the IDEs, and like really focusing on them having the warnings like, you know, hey, you're using this function in C, this is the right way to do it, because those are going to be the gateways to actually getting that compiled code down. FileCatalyst Workflow, vulnerable to SQL injection. Once again, what's old is new. What's new is old. We just keep repeating ourselves around and around and around again. These vulnerabilities still exist. They still exist in a major way.
None of it's actually been fixed. I mean, all you have to do is look at the OWASP top 10 and how infrequently it changes and how much of stuff from 10, 15 years ago are still sitting in that top 10.
And this vulnerability is not an issue in C. This is a vulnerability in the way that the application was developed, the way it's passing those variables that you get from the web server back to the backend database. But Tenable did sit on this one for quite a while. They did finally release their exploit, but I think it was well after FileCatalyst had the patch.
Yeah, they did a nice little simultaneous patch, and you know they posted a bulletin, and Tenable released the exploit same day. So kind of a nice little coordination.
Yeah, then that's the way it should be. That's the way we should work together. There was some file sharing over BitTorrent, and it was using a tremendous amount of data that this ISP was very frustrated about. Basically, the courts ruled that KT was right, that the company that was using this BitTorrent to do these files syncs and transfers shouldn't be doing it without getting payments back to KT. So KT had a number of options that they could choose, but they skipped over all of those logical things and they went straight into infecting the users that were using this service with malware. And on some of the computer systems, they nuked those systems as well.
I think the weirdest part of this to me is that somehow the courts backed the company that like just was like, hey, user's computer, we can delete stuff. Too bad. Like somehow that's okay. Like that's seems, I mean, I don't know. How would that go here? I don't think it would go the same way.
This is what Sony did, right? Pretty much they wrote software onto the disks, and whenever you burned a copy, it would actually stop you from burning copies. Sony did that, wind up all the way, went to the court, and Sony lost. Like you can't put software on a user's computer like that.
Join us for live InfoSec news every Monday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Black Hills InfoSec YouTube channel.